Mercy sleeps in the shadows, a whispered redemption, a Heal Our World book by Suffering Well. Chapter 5, The Invitation of Grace. The priest sat still, kneeling, not stiffly, but with the ease of someone who had made prayer a habit, not just of the mouth, but of the body. He rocked back on his heels. Frank paused a few steps away, his breath a little shorter than it had been moments before. His fingers ran absently over the rosary in his hand, the smooth grain of the beads grounding him, pulling him forward like a whisper. He waited until the priest looked up. There was no surprise in the priest's face, just a soft recognition, like the sun returning after a cloud passes. He stood slowly, brushing his knees as he rose. "Good evening," the priest said. "We've met, haven't we?" Frank nodded. "Mass a couple weeks ago." "I remember," the priest offered a hand. "Father Caritas." Frank took it. The shake was firm but unassuming, like a man who dug post holes and buried sins in the same day. Frank hesitated, then said, "I saw you hearing confessions." Father Caritas nodded. "I come down here sometimes. I find grace meets people more easily under bridges than under chandeliers." That made Frank almost smile. Almost. "I'm not Catholic," he said. "That's all right," Father Caritas replied. "Neither was the Good Samaritan." They stood for a moment in the gathering dusk, the hum of cars on the overpass above them, a dog barking somewhere down the street. Frank looked down at the rosary in his hand. "I don't even know why I'm here," he admitted. The priest's voice dropped lower, more tender. "Maybe Grace does." Frank's throat tightened. He had spent years swallowing guilt like it was bread, years trying to make peace with ghosts who'd refused to let him go. And here, in the half-light of a city that rarely made space for silence, he felt the old ache rise. "Can I talk to you?" he asked. Father Caritas nodded. "Of course. We can call it what you like. I'll listen as long as you need." They moved a few steps to the side where a stone planter offered a seat. Frank sat first, leaned forward, arms braced on his knees. Father Caritas sat a little apart, not facing him directly, giving space but not distance. And then Frank spoke. Not everything, not all at once, but enough. The words came slow and rough, like stones pulled from a riverbed. He spoke of Afghanistan, not the names or medals, just the pieces that still woke him in the night. He spoke of the boy he tried to save and the guilt that clawed at him like it had a right to stay. He spoke of anger, of numbness, of hiding in alleys and under bridges, in bottles and silence. He spoke of the Bible Ken gave him, of Ronald's stew and Patty's prayers and the strange warmth he felt during the blessing at Mass. He stopped sometimes, voice catching. The priest didn't fill the space, just let it be. When the words finally ebbed, Frank sat back, exhausted. "I know you can't absolve me," he said. Father Caritas nodded slowly. "No, not in the sacramental sense." Frank looked down at his hands. "But can I still be forgiven?" The priest turned toward him then, fully. "If you believe in confessing to a priest, why aren't you Catholic?" he said. Frank stared at him. "I guess I'm still not sure about the Eucharist." Father Caritas looked at him sympathetically. "I'll pray for you in your journey." He put his hand on Frank's shoulder. "I feel confident that if you're seeking earnestly and sincerely, you'll find what God has for you. God bless you." Frank swallowed hard. He felt accepted and loved, along with something he couldn't put his finger on. The slow thaw of something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. He looked away, blinking too fast. Another man approached then, quiet, hesitant. He stood a few steps off, glancing toward the priest. Father Caritas rose and offered Frank a reassuring nod. "Stay as long as you like." Frank stayed. He watched the priest step aside with the man, listened to him as he had listened to Frank. He saw the gentle way Father Caritas placed a hand over the man's heart before offering communion from a small pyx. Frank's eyes widened slightly. The man crossed himself, whispered something, and moved on. Frank waited until the priest returned and sat down again. "You gave him communion," Frank said, not accusing, just curious. Right there." The priest nodded. You mentioned you were struggling with the Eucharist. Frank looked down. I've read where Jesus told his disciples they had to eat his body and drink his blood. I never really understood that. Caritas smiled gently. John 6. Most of us don't. Not at first. Frank looked up at him. Could we talk about it? The priest's smile deepened. Yes, we can. And so they did.